All right, give a nice hand to Teresa here.
Hello. Thank you. Good evening, Atherton. Thanks for having me today. I'm sorry, I have all these devices. I want to make sure they're all turned off. Okay. So hopefully all is well with you. It's good to be here. It's been a very long time. I think I may have been here maybe twice. I know once for sure. Big bad COVID had us all in. So it's good to be out amongst everyone again. So I am Teresa Thompson. I am a community liaison with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We were formerly named Senior Driver Ombudsman. So we are now the Community Liaison Outreach Unit. Okay, so we still do a lot of the same work, of course. We're just not specifically senior based. We're in the community. So today I wanted to come and speak with you about the big bad DMV. And hopefully we will make it a little less, little less heartfelt for you to go to the DMV and take care of your business. So first off, here in California, there is no age limit for us to say stop driving. We don't say you have to stop at 109, 89, 99. The hope is, or the expectation, I should say, is that if you don't feel safe, regardless of age, that you stop driving, right? It's just the safest thing to do, whether it's temporary or it's, permanent. Okay, so that's how the DMV of California works. However, when it's time for you to renew your license, if you're 70 or older at the time of your renewal, you are required to visit the DMV because you are required to submit the knowledge test as well as the vision test. Okay, so those are the tests that are required for any person 70 and older to renew their license. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Some of you were under the governor's waiver, possibly, where you did not have to take the test. It was waived. That ended in December. So there are no more waivers at this time. That is over. Some people took advantage of that because they were within that time frame. Unfortunately, everyone was not in that time frame. So the waiver is no longer taking place. I get a lot of calls where people are calling and asking for an extension. We don't have any more extensions. So when you go to the DMV, you're not looking for an extension. You're possibly looking for a temporary license. And we'll talk about how to get that. But there are no extensions. And unfortunately, the waiver is over. I don't have the authority to say, oh, we'll waive yours. That was a mass waiver by Gavin Newsom. And it is now. So when you come into the DMV and test it, what is required of you? You're going to pay the fee. $41 as of today. It does go up a little every year or so by $1 or $2. So as of today, it's $41 for anyone of any age to renew their license. Okay. You're going to take a vision exam. You're going to do the application, of course. When you take your knowledge exam, you have 3 chances to take that test once you pay your fee. Okay. So you get 3 chances to take the exam. What happens if you fail one? You have 2 more tries. What happens if you're unsuccessful at all 3 knowledge tests? Then you start the process over. You pay another fee. You fill out a new application. You take another vision. You're starting from scratch. Even if you passed your vision with the previous application, that application is now voided because unfortunately there were 3 unsuccessful attempts at the written test. So far, so good? So that's how it works. How many questions are on the test? 25. There used to be 18. That has been increased since March of last year. That's for everyone. So trust me when I say the DMV is not so fancy to where we have a specific test just for seniors. A lot of times my seniors call and say, oh, I tried the regular test. I want the senior test. We don't have a senior test. I don't know how it's worded in the book. I'm going to have time one day to really read it and maybe have it reworded. There is no senior test. We don't have questions designed for seniors. We're all driving. There's no special rules for seniors, right? So everyone gets the same type of test. No design test for seniors. Everyone gets 3 chances. After 3 chances, you start the process over. Okay. The eye test is also given. So we're looking for 20/40 in both eyes, 20/40 in one eye, and at least 20/70 in the other eye. So people call me and, well, I have this condition. I can't tell you over the phone if you're going to pass. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea. You probably know more if you're going to pass than I do. You have an idea. But if you don't pass the vision, we don't just say we're going to take your license. We're not doctors at DMV. We will give you what's called a report of vision exam that goes to your eye doctor for completion. Then you have to bring it back. Once it's reviewed by the DMV personnel, then it will be determined if you have to take a behind the wheel driving test. Because remember what the requirements were at 70 and older, right? A knowledge test and a vision test. We didn't mention a driving test. That's the only time a driving test is required. It is not age-based. It can happen to anyone of any age if they have a vision issue. If you don't meet our standards, we're going to give you that vision. It could be something simple as you need glasses or a new prescription for your glasses. It could be something more serious. Glaucoma, cataract, diabetic retinopathy, their macular degeneration. Those are some common vision issues that I see. So if you have one of those conditions, and of course it needs to be documented on that form, the doctor's going to give us your clinical readings for your measurements of your eyes. We look at that, and then we'll say, okay, we'll give this person a driving test. So that's when a driving test is required. So don't freak out. A drive test is not the normal part of the requirement for renewing unless there's a vision issue. Any questions so far? Yes.
So can we wear our glasses for the vision test?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you wear glasses, we are not going to say, please take off your glasses to take your test. Again, we're not doctors. We want you to see, right? We're licensing you. So by all means, if you wear glasses, you're not being judged. We just want you to pass your test. If you go in and you don't wear glasses and you happen to have on your readers because you've been filling out papers and taking the test, don't forget to take them off. Because we're not doctors. We don't know to say those are readers. If you take them with your glasses on, we're going to put the restriction on your license that you must wear your glasses when you're driving. Okay, so if they're not for you to drive in, remember to take them off when you go to take your eye test. But if they are something that you're using on a daily and to drive, feel free to put them on. You will have a restriction on your license if you take them with your glasses or corrective lenses. And it will say must wear corrective lenses. That is now a part of your license. It's a restriction, but you have to abide by that. So if I get pulled over and restriction is for me to wear my glasses and law enforcement pulls me over and I don't have on glasses or contacts, I'm in violation of my driver's license. Make sense? Any questions on that? We're okay? Okay, so 25 questions. You can miss 5. 6 or more, you're not passing. So 25 questions. You can miss 5. That is passing. And you have 3 chances to take that test. We got it? So far, so good? Any questions? The questions on the test. I get calls daily. No one likes the questions on the test. I have to figure out I talked to my boss today and I said, we're getting these calls, what's going on with the test. So we're going to find out if we can push it up to see what's going on with the test because we are getting some complaints. I won't say a lot. I'll just say some. And so we want to make sure, how is it written? Is it, normal? What's going on here? Because we are getting some people that are not happy with how it's worded. I did not bring sample tests with me today. Sample tests are available. But what I'm noticing is people want to just study the sample test. And then when you send the sample test, I tell them every time, I'm going to send you these, but these are just samples. These will not be the same questions you get on the test. When some people call me, believe it, they're way up here. I can't help them because they're calling me for help, but they're answering themselves. And I can't even get a word in to say, no, that's not how it works. So they're way up here. Sometimes I can bring them down. Sometimes I've learned I just got to let them talk. Maybe they'll call me back and get the right information. Because sometimes you can't bring them down. Their mind is made up. So what I'm trying to say is when you get the sample test, they're just samples. Your best bet is to read this handy dandy California handbook. This is the 2023 version. So this is the latest version I brought to you today. I know it's been hard to get. We had COVID, paper shortage. Here it is, though. We got it for you today. 15, 20 minutes, once or twice a day. I would not try to read this book for hours on. I think it turns your brain to mush. It's a lot of information, right? It's good information, but it kind of brings you up here because it's like, oh my God, it's 100 feet before you turn, 200 feet. And people panic. I can't remember this. You're doing it. You do it every day. You're doing it, right? You're driving. You're good drivers. You know this stuff. But what is something that happens is that as we age, sometimes we restrict or limit our driving, which is not a bad thing. But that doesn't mean that your test will be restricted to what you know. So that's why it's good to read the entire booklet. Does that make sense? 15, 20 minutes once or twice a day while you have your tea or coffee, you're at a doctor's appointment waiting, pull this out. Okay, everybody will be jealous in the lobby. But you read this, and then you're kind of in your element. You're relaxed, you're just reading it, you're just taking it in. When I say people restrict themselves, what do I mean? Sometimes you don't drive at night. You no longer drive long distances. You may not drive the freeway. You may only drive in your area, your local area that you're familiar with. Those are not bad things. It just means that you recognize, okay, there's something different about my eyesight. I don't like to drive at night. I rather just not. There's no law that says you must drive at night. The law is if you drive at night, if you have bad vision, that's probably not good for you. But if you do, that you're able to see and follow the rules of the road. It doesn't say that you must drive the freeway. The expectation, of course, is if you do get on the freeway, you know you have to merge and you can't drive at 15 miles an hour on the freeway unless there's traffic, which oftentimes there is. So those are the things that sometimes are a little bit harder because there are questions about everything. And these are things you may have moved away from because maybe you're not driving in inclement weather conditions, rain and snow. And I think it's going to snow next year. It's getting closer and closer, right? So we do need to know about these things. And then what if you're driving on a road and they have construction and they redirect you somewhere where it is a little bit more unfamiliar? At least if you read through this booklet, you have an idea of what you're supposed to be doing, right? Because there's still rules of the road. Question? Did I miss one? Mm-hmm. You know what? I've heard that, and no one has ever told me that. I ordered these straight from our DMV warehouse. So I have not I ordered more today. No one emailed me and said we can't send these to you. So I don't know what's going on with that. And I called the warehouse direct. I called them last week just to verify we had a supply of books. They didn't say, hey, we're not using them. I have gotten no emails saying that we're shredding books. So this is what we have. I will check on it, but I have heard nothing of that. So that hasn't been passed on to me. So I'm still giving these out. I just ordered some today for an event I have next month to make sure I have enough. They didn't say, hey, you can't have these books. So if I get word on that, I will make sure I contact Linda to make sure you know about it. But as of now, this is the book. Not, uh-huh.
I believe it was the article that had their version, a new one, that had an error in it, so they had to ship it all back.
So Auto Club is different. So Auto Club does have their own book. Auto Club is a wonderful organization. They do a lot of DMV work, but I use this book. This is where the testing information comes from. Auto Club will call me every so often if they have questions about what they're putting in the book because they're not DMV. So this is the book you want to study. Anything that's on the test should come from this handbook. I can't vouch for Auto Club. I can't. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So much of the testing, the questions were numbers, multiple choice,
Yes.
and then you would check in the back to make sure that, that you have the answers. The work is done completely different.
This book is completely different. It is. I don't know if you remember before, if anyone was here before when I came in, we used to have a senior guide for safe driving, which was a pamphlet like this, but a little, less pages. This is all combined now. Everything's in one book. Teens, seniors, all drivers. This is the book. So this is the book to have. Okay. So that's what I'm being told. Question? Yes.
How many tests are there? Test A, B, C?
Oh, good question. I'm going to take these off even though I can't see you.
And complete that. So let's say you take test A and fail.
So let me interject. No test A, B, or C. When I started with the department, we had 3 tests, then we had 7. Then we had the internet and people that are not so savory. And so that is why we stopped giving the tests back, because tests were being put online, they were being sold. My grandparents had a shoebox full of tests and they would not let it go. That is how they study, because you memorize the test. So now the computer is generating tests and redoing those questions all day long. So there's no test A, B, or C.
Okay, so if you fail the test, and you have to take it,
Mm-hmm.
the same questions are, that you missed are on the second.
It may be, maybe not.
So you might have a different test.
Oh, you're going to have a different test.
So, yeah,
Absolutely. You're going to have a different test. Will some of those questions appear in a different format? Possibly, but you're going to have a different test. So did everyone understand his question? There are no set a number of tests that we have. We used to, but not anymore. And that's just because people are so savvy now, and they were just memorizing the test and not reading the book. So yeah, we had to stop that. And again, that's why we don't give you the test. Now, if you take a paper test and paper is required, paper is given if you request it. It's available upon request, because we have different testing options. We have the touch screen, we have paper, we have what we call person to person. And then we also have an option for you to renew your license online, even if you're 70 or older, if you're eligible. So you do have to create an account, a DMV account. It requires you to have your own email. I know a lot of my seniors will say my spouse and I share emails. It's one email per person. So if your spouse uses the shared email, you have to create your own email. You cannot use the same email. It's for security reasons. Okay. It's just one email per person. But you go on our website, it gives you 5 steps to set up your account. Once you set it up, you can log in. You would choose online driver's license renewal. You start the process. About 2 or 3 screens in, if you're not eligible to renew online, it will say eligibility record not found. That means you're not eligible for online. Everyone will not be eligible. But if you are eligible, you will go through the process of doing the application online, your physical description, your address, everything that you would do in the office. You fill it out, voter registration, right? All of those things. When you get to the end for the payment screen, you pay online, debit, credit, or your checking account, right? And then it's going to give you 2 options to take the test at home. There's a proctored exam, which requires a desktop or a laptop with a camera. You have to authorize DMV to monitor or watch that in the future if necessary, of course, to make sure no one's cheating, right? Because you're doing it at home. Or you can do the e-learn. That's the one you want. The e-learn is not pass or fail. It's completion. It gives you 7 modules for the e-learn coaching session is what we kind of call it. So let's say, for example, the first module is going to be on right turns. It's going to say, hey, let's learn about right turns. It's going to show you the different signs that deal with right turns. Then it's going to show you some different, we call them like video or vignettes, about 6 or 7 about right turns, right? And then you're watching these, and then at the end, it'll say, hey, let's go over what we learned about right turns. For example, it'll say, can you pass on the right shoulder? No. If you hit yes, which is the incorrect answer, it'll say, hey, try that again. So you cannot fail that test, but you have to complete all 7 modules. You don't have to complete them in one sitting. It's going to send you a link so you can log in. You can do a couple modules, log out, log back in, go in. If you do the entire set, it says 45 minutes to an hour to sit there and finish it. But it depends on how fast you're moving, right? That just depends on the person. So that's an option. Once you complete the online testing at home, and let me say this. The e-learn does not require you to have a desktop or a laptop. You can have a phone, a tablet. It's not as picky, right? It's a little bit more relaxed, okay? And it's not pass or fail. I can't say that enough. You just have to complete the 7 modules. That's it. Once you complete it, then you give it about 24 hours to update. You go to your local DMV office, and you still have to take your eye exam, thumbprint, and photo, and you're done. So that's another option for you, okay? If you don't want to go into the office and take the test, if you're eligible, I would say, I don't know if you're eligible. They don't give us eligibility requirements or criteria, but I think it's worth trying. If you're not computer savvy, if you have someone that can help you start your account and get you logged on, I think it's worth a try. Any questions on it? Yes. Oh, you weren't eligible. Okay. Sometimes what I'm hearing is that eligibility is denied if we have had during our licensing tenure, if we've had automatic renewals in the past. So I've been having a license for a long time as well. So at some point, I've had something to come in the mail and say, congratulations, you've been a good driver, just mail us your money and we'll send you a license with the same photo. So if we've had several of those, I'm told, that can maybe affect eligibility, where you have to go in. So that's possible. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, call me. We'll make your appointment. I'm on page 91 in the booklet, and it's going to say LA County Central Coast, the 310 number. That's me. So if you need help making an appointment, I will make the appointment with you on the phone, ask you what office you want to go to, tell you the dates they have available. You pick the date and time, and I'll make it. Okay, if you're having issues with the appointment. Any other questions on the testing? We're okay with that? So far, so good. Did I lose anyone? If you're not driving, just so you'll know, we do offer a senior identification card. If you are 62 and older, it is free. DMV does not give away much. So if that's something that you're interested in, even if you have your license, you can still get a senior ID card. And sometimes what happens is I have, family members calling, they're trying to help a senior, and this person, they didn't realize that their license had just expired. They're trying to get them in some type of health care or programs that require a valid ID, and the person has nothing. So sometimes as we age gracefully, we might need that extra layer of identification tucked away so that if something happens, people can still help us, whether you're going to the bank, getting in a facility, or helping you get health care. Those things matter. And sometimes it's like, time sensitive. And then they call me, I need one tomorrow. I can't get you one tomorrow, but I can try to help you get an ID for this person. Okay. So if you're mobile and you're going to the DMV, go ahead and also get a senior ID card for free if you're 62 or older. And we're going to talk about real ID in a moment, all the way in the back. Those do expire. I have to put these on so I can hear you. Those do expire. 8 years. A senior ID is good for 8 years. A regular ID, if you're under 62, is good for 6 years. Okay, so a senior ID is free, 62 and older, good for 8 birthdays, 8 years. We okay with that? Yes.
My daughter's been trying to get an senior ID for me,
Okay.
and they refused my birth certificate.
They refuse your birth certificate. So this is what I am learning with the real ID process with this generation. No offense. This is just what I've observed, okay? Honestly. We get these cute little certificates. They look very, official, but they're not. They're from the hospital. So for example, I had a daughter call about her dad. She was so upset. I was upset. Why did the DMV turn him away? He had his birth certificate. I said, they should not have. Was it certified? Yes. I said, can you email it to me? Because I have to see it, send it to the office and find out why wasn't it. But I looked at it and knew right away. It wasn't a birth certificate. It looked official, but it was actually the document his parents should have turned in to get the birth certificate. So sometimes those documents may have worked in the past, but for real ID in this process, we have to have official birth records, whether it's a passport or a certified or original of the birth certificate. So look at it. You can have your daughter call me. I'm on page 91. If she wants to, my number is there. Absolutely. And then I can try to help her through that process. If you were born in another state, each state has an Office of Vital Statistics. They would be able to help you get the birth certificate. DMV, that's a different agency. We can't help with that part of the process. But that is who you would contact. If you're here from California, you can go to a local court. It's the county registrar's office that issues our birth certificates, marriage certificates, and those types of documents, okay? So that may be something to helpful, but they look very, very official, but I will give you a hint. If it has your cute little footprints on it, it's not a birth certificate. Okay, the birth certificate's gonna be on official paper. It's kind of thick, almost like a linen feel. The seal is embossed, it's raised, you can feel it. So those are the things we're looking for to make sure it's official. If it's original from a certain year, it may not have all of those features, but if it's an original and it's certified, we will take that, no problem. Okay? Any other questions on that? Let's talk. Did I miss somebody? I think I got you in the back, right? Let's talk about Real ID. So Real ID is not mandatory. You have a little flyer there. Real ID is something that was developed by Congress and the federal government after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, way back when, right? It's just now coming where all the states are having to do it. It's not just California. This is all U.S. states and U.S. territories, I should say. So you don't have to have it. What is it going to be used for? It's going to be used for going through the airport, traveling. TSA is the federal government, okay? This is their program. It's going to be used for entering federal facilities, federal. This is their program. Or entering military bases, federal. This is their program. That is what it's for. Now, I said it's not mandatory, so you may be thinking, well, I still want to travel. If you have a valid U.S. unexpired passport, you can use that for domestic travel. TSA will accept your passport along with your ID to go through the airport. Got it? So if you don't want to be bothered with Real ID, you don't have to. Now, if you're just not traveling and you don't have a passport and you don't have a need for it, you do not have to get it. Got it? Any questions on that? We're good so far? What is required if you do want to get Real ID? An in-person visit to the DMV with the following documents are required, and it's on your flyer. You have to have what's called an identity document. We only need one identity document. That would be either the certified copy or original of your birth certificate, or a valid U.S. passport, or a certificate of naturalization or citizenship. There are more things required. I'm just naming the first three the most common things. All of these things have to be originals or certified copies, no photocopies. We'll also take a passport card, okay? Yes. Yeah, I'm getting to that too. Mm-hmm. Right, we're going to get to that. We're going to do one step at a time. Yes.
So you have to submit the passport?
Yes.
And then wait to get it back?
They're going to give it back to you the same day. They only scan. We don't keep them. Everything is just scanned and returned to you. So again, an identity document, just one. Don't bring us your folder full of all of your most earth-shattering documents. Then you leave them and call me and say, where is it at? I don't know. Why did you take everything? We just need that. It gets confusing. And then sometimes you give them the wrong thing. And then you have this folder with everything in it. Just take what is required. It makes it so much easier for you and the technician that's processing. So a certified copy of the birth certificate or the original, valid U.S. passport or passport card, meaning it's unexpired, okay? Certificate of naturalization or citizenship. Those are just three. You have the list. There are more. If that doesn't fit you, check the list. Then you have to bring us 2 pieces of mail, proof of California residency, something with your current name and your address. Proof of mail can be any utility bills, 2 different ones, including a cell phone. It could be your car registration if your name is on it. It could be something from your bank or financial institution, something from IRS, Franchise Tax Board. It's called official mail, something from your insurance companies, whether it's health insurance, car insurance, life insurance, long as it has your name and your address. If you're bringing in a document and it says 1 of 3 pages, bring us all 3 pages. Don't just bring us the first page with your name. We have to have a complete document. Does that make sense? Did I lose anyone? So if it says 1 of 2 pages, bring us 2 pages. We're going to scan that stuff along with your identity document, your birth certificate, and we're going to return it. We don't keep it. We do not need your social security card. We just need to make sure that you put the correct number on the application. Okay? Got it so far? So let's back up a little bit. Uh-oh, one of my devices. I wish I could throw them both out the window. Okay, so let's say that I bring in my birth certificate, okay? But my last name was Smith. I was born a free woman, right? Before I got married. Good for me, good for all of us, right? And so, since it says Smith, my mail now has Thompson. That's a discrepancy, right? This says Smith, which is, that's normal. You're not born married, most of us. And so then we're going to ask for that person to bring in a certified copy of their marriage certificate, not the license, because we can back out when we do the license. The certificate seals the deal, but the certificate is from the agency that records the marriage. It is not from the chapel or the pastor, okay? Because that's what we get too. Well, I brought this in. I'm like, but this is from the chapel or this is from the residing person over it. It needs to come from the county or the agency that records the marriage. Here, again, that's going to be the county registrar's office if you got married in California. So sometimes you can go to that direct office or local court. Sometimes they have the registrar's office inside of there doing certain things. Make sense? It doesn't matter if it's because of marriage, your name is different, or if it's because of adoption or a name change. So here's another thing I noticed with this group. The name on the birth certificate is Betty Ann Frazier. You're telling me they call you Tina. Where did that come from? I don't know. We're not typing Tina. So either you have to change your name and get a legal name change from the court and bring that in, certified and signed by the judge that Betty Ann Frazier is Tina, and we'll type it. But if it says Betty Ann Frazier and you don't have any documents, legal documents to show that you did a name change, even though your retirement's in Tina and your mail's in Tina, we are not typing Tina. We're typing Betty Ann Frazier. If there's a misspelling of your name on your birth certificate, that's how we have to type it. This is a federal program. That's the purpose of it, security, right? So you would want to probably contact the registrar's office or vital statistics to see if they can change it for you and amend it and correct it if it's spelled incorrectly. We can't do that at our end. At our end, we are processing to issue you that card. We can't make any corrections. That's a different agency. So far, so good? Did I miss anyone? Did I leave anyone behind? I don't want anyone to be confused. Yes.
I have a real ID,
Uh-huh.
when I moved here, so the address is different, so I wanted to change it. And all they gave me was a little piece of paper that says my,
Your new address.
yeah,
So what happens is you can change your address that way, and it's no fee. If you want it to appear on the card, you have to pay for a replacement card and then do a new application with your new address. So it's updated in the system. It's just that you didn't have to pay for it because they updated it without generating a new card.
and I can bring those documents to justify a letter from the bank or this kind of thing.
They've already changed your address? If it's already changed and you just want to go get a replacement card and it's going to have that real ID status, right, but they gave you the card. So you can call me and I'll verify if it's been corrected or updated. If it has, you can just go in and get a replacement card. I think it's like $33 if you want it with the actual new address on the card. Does that make sense? Yeah.
If that's not the case, I need to provide the resident, like the current address.
What I would probably do is change it online, create an account, change your address online, allow it to update a couple days, and then go in and just get a duplicate or replacement license. And you should be able to do a replacement online also. So you may not have to go to the DMV.
The documents, okay, I don't get a electric bill, I don't get a gas bill here.
Mhm. Yeah, so something from your healthcare insurance, your bank, anything like that, if it's necessary. But again, these are options that you have now so that you don't always have to go into the office. You are able to update or change your address online, but you have to give it a day or two to update. You can always call me and say, hey, this is my old address. Has it been updated? Yes. Okay, I'm going to log into my account now and request a replacement card. And then you'll still get a new card with the real ID status if you already have it with your new address. About $33. Yes. Back there? Be right there.
Nowadays, everything is digital.
Just print it. You'll have to print it.
The bank statement, I can get myself.
That's fine. Yeah, as long as it's printed, we don't take, so you can't bring us your phone and show us electronic. It'll have to be an actual paper copy. That's a good question. Yes,
Naturally has your maiden name.
correct,
You married, you have a different last name.
correct.
Does that have to be changed?
What happens is you would have to bring us your marriage certificate, certified copy of the marriage certificate.
The married name needs to be on it?
Yes, because the married, no, the married name won't be on the birth certificate, as you weren't born with that name. But what we will need is a document to show why your name changed. And if that's because of marriage, you would bring in a certified copy of the marriage certificate. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Did I miss a hand? Yes. Real ID renews with your license or ID card. So once you have it, it's there. You don't have to bring in the documents all over again. At this point, I haven't heard anything about that happening. Yes. No, unfortunately, that's not acceptable. On that list, I don't think that would work. You would have to have something, a rental agreement signed by the person, you're the renter and the person that owns, or, that would be acceptable. So something like that, but we give you so many other options. It could be something from your bank or credit union. It could be something from your car insurance or health insurance, not a card, but a piece of mail. So bring something else if you don't have utilities, because that's pretty common if you're living in a senior facility or apartment complex. Okay. Did I miss a hand? Yes.
My driver's license is real ID, but I go to and become to change to California ID, will it automatically be real ID and that's
You have to let them know that you want it, so you're not driving anymore. Okay, so then you tell them that you want the senior ID card and you want that to have the real ID status. You shouldn't have to take anything in, just take your card, your old license, to show it had the real ID status. That's correct. And they're going to give you a piece of paper regarding your ID, and then you'll get it in a few weeks in the mail. Yeah. Okay, so she's asking, she has a California driver's license with the real ID status, which is signified by a very bright gold bear on the top right corner, if I didn't say. So if you're wondering, do I have a real ID, driver's license or ID card? If it doesn't have a bright gold bear on the top right corner, it's not real ID. If it says federal limits apply on the top right corner, it is not real ID. So in this case, if you have a driver's license and now you're going to go over to an ID card, you want that real ID status to follow, you can definitely have the real ID status on the identification card as well. Just let them know when you fill out the application, you want real ID and you want it transferred over. Be very clear and communicate with those technicians what you want, so you don't get it in the mail and it doesn't have that status on it. Okay? Yes.
mine says Class C and none. What does that mean? That's a real ID.
In none, non-commercial. Mm-hmm. Class C is for regular automobiles, and I believe that's non-commercial.
So the and none, you say endorsements, no endorsements?
Right, no endorsements. Endorsements are usually used for people that have commercial license, like tanks and passengers and those types of things. Okay, did I get every hand? Did I miss anyone? We're okay? So far, so good on Real ID? Any questions? Any more questions? It's one more thing before I forget, because I get brain freeze. 1 second. You can use your valid U.S. passport, if I did not say this, to travel if you do not have or want Real ID. I wouldn't rush out to get Real ID if you have a valid U.S. passport. If you're going to travel domestic, you can use that. If your trip requires a passport, if you're going out of the country, then you have to have your passport. Real ID will not take the place of a passport if a passport is required for your travel. Okay, now I'm ready for you. Yes. 1 second. I'm sorry. 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay. So you have a card, you have an ID card with real ID, but you want it on your driver's license. You'll have to go back into the office and let them know you want the real ID status on the driver's license. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm ready for you.
It's about how I bought a car from Michigan here, and they only gave me one license plate. Is that okay? As long as I presume it's running, from Michigan.
2 plates are always given in California, and 9 times out of 10, believe it or not, they're stuck together. Get a butter knife. It's there. It happens all the time. They are so tight together. So get something and have someone kind of pry it. It's usually there, but you should have 2. Our law requires 2, front and back. Yes. Yes. You're welcome. Okay.
I did make a copy of the passport, but it does have expiration date, so I have to watch out.
They don't take a passport if it's expiring within 60 days. We won't take it at the DMV. If a passport or passport card is going to be due to expire within 60 days of you doing your application, they won't accept it. It has to be renewed or you have to use something else. Okay? Good question. Thank you. Anything else on Real ID? So it requires an in-person visit. It requires some specific documents that we've talked about. You can have it on your license or your ID card. You cannot have it on both. Just have to pick a card. I suggest if you have a driver's license, put it on there. That's your main card. I never suggest carrying your ID and your driver's license together. It's the same number. If you have a driver's license, you're using that as your ID as well. I would tuck away my ID card if I had them both. It's good to have both, but I wouldn't carry them both. If you misplace your license, at least you have something to hold on to until you get that replaced. Because, without an ID, you can't go to the bank. You can't, do certain things that's where ID is required. Yes.
Would you go over again what you said about the real ID expired?
The real ID, if you have a driver's license, it's going to expire on your birthday. So there's no extended time period because it's a real ID driver's license. So a driver's license is good for 5 years. If you have the real ID status on there, it's good for 5 years. When you renew it and you still want the real ID status, it's going to be on there automatically. You have it now. If you get a senior identification card, senior ID, 62 and older, it's free. You can get the real ID status on that card if you like. That is good for 8 years. So a senior ID card is good for 8 years. Driver's license is good for 5. Okay. Did I answer your question? Okay. Also, I want to go back to something. If you are going to use your valid U.S. passport and it already has your married name or your changed name on the passport, you don't have to worry about a marriage certificate or any other documents from the court changing your name. If your passport has the name the way you want it, use the passport. Leave the birth certificate at home. Okay? And then bring your passport, your mail, your 2 mail items, and that's what's required, and your social security number on the application. One more thing before I forget. Social Security Administration, our computers are talking to their computers. So once that number goes in, right, your social security number, it sends a message to Social Security Administration. It'll come back, oh, this is Teresa Thompson, not Teresa Smith. So okay, I said that backwards. This is Teresa Smith, not Teresa Thompson. So if I was born Teresa Smith, right? And then my name is different, but I didn't change it with Social Security, that's a problem. Those names need to mesh. So you need to make sure if you are having a change, your name is changed, make sure it is changed if you're not sure with Social Security. They need to have whatever name you're using at DMV. Remember, this is a security thing, right? That's what we're trying to prevent, people from having all these names. You can change your name. You get married multiple times. That's another thing. We need all those documents. We need the divorce decree, the dissolution of marriage, the new marriage certificate, all certified. We're not judging you. We're just looking at your names. It happens. Things happen. But we need to know that this is the same person. That is the purpose of that. Okay? Did I miss a hand? Yes.
Let's say I might be going to the very beginning, I have my driver's license, comes up for renewal,
Mm-hmm.
I missed all the 3 tests.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be that my driver's license is also an ID,
Real ID.
real ID.
Okay.
So now I'm faced with, it expired.
Okay.
Just that already, and so, is there any additional paperwork that I have to do, or just go back and reapply for the
No.
other test?
No additional paperwork for Real ID. Once you have it, you have it. But you just have to go and apply to renew and take your test over. Yes. Also, if I did not mention it, it's a way to get a temporary license during the process if you fail. I'm the worst DMV customer ever. I look down and I said, oh, it's my birthday and my license expires. And I call them like, can you guys, and they're like, Teresa, really? I'm like, I didn't look at it. I'm sorry. So if that happens and you have to test, right? And you're there the day of or a couple days before your birthday, and you don't pass, unfortunately, as long as you pass the eye test, they'll give you a temporary for 60 days. So you're still driving legally, but you're going to study and go take it again and pass it, right? So that's how that works. But if you don't pass the vision test and there's an issue with vision, it's possible that we won't be able to give you the temporary, right? For safety reasons, because we got to get something from the eye doctor, and you're possibly going to have to take an actual driving test. But if you pass the vision, you'll get a 60-day temp. Don't ask for an extension. It's a temporary license. Okay? Any more questions? Yes.
I'm just curious, it takes a lot of work to get a passport. And why do you treat an expired passport as completely worthless?
That's the federal government. This is their program, and it has to be valid documents. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the exact answer for it. Anything usually expired, though, it's not valid. So we wouldn't be able to accept it. Yes.
When I take my driver's license to the ID, to do the real ID, I need to bring a handicap package with me so that I can get lost in the stuff when I have to get home.
No, the handicap placard is assigned to the person. Your ID number is the same as the driver's license number. So that's fine. That's fine. Okay? But if you're doing any type of change of address, this is just another nugget. If you're ever doing a change of address, we talked about that. If you, for some reason, have a placard and you're doing your application for your driver's license and you're changing your address, you have to also change the address for your placard and your vehicle registration if you want to get those items. Changing it for the driver's license or changing it for the registration doesn't change it for the other items that you may have. So remember that. Sometimes people say, well, I changed it for my driver's license, but I didn't get my registration card. Apples and oranges. So you have to change it for your driver's license, your registration, and or your placard if you have one. Okay? Yes. Yes. You have to change it on all, because just because you change it on your license, we can't automatically change it on your registration. Yeah, we just can't automatically do it. It has to be you changing your address. That's why when you call the DMV, we can't change your address. That's an official record. You have to fill out the paperwork and you have to change it. Some people want things going to different places. We don't know. We don't care if it goes to different places. But if you want it to go to one place, keep that in mind. When you change it for one thing and you have other items, vehicle registration, disabled placard, change it for all of those things. It's going to be separate. Okay? You can, absolutely. You can do that. If you're a member of AAA, you can do address change at AAA. If you want a new card, again, whether it's a license or an ID, you have to come into our office for us to generate the card. But if you're just okay with changing the address and not having the new card, you're more than welcome to do that at AAA or online, remember. Okay? So are we okay with Real ID? Is it confusing? Hopefully not. Okay. Just remember, look at that document and only bring in what was required. Again, don't bring us your accordion file full of all of your paperwork, and make sure you have your actual birth certificate if that's what you're using. Make sure if you're using your passport or passport card, it is not expired, or it's not going to expire within 60 days, which is what, 2 months. Okay. We're ready to move on? I don't want to leave anyone behind here. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about health and safety and driving, and how do those two mesh? Well, it's very important to have good vision, right? Whether it's corrected or You can see, I can't really see without these things, but it's good to have good vision and health. If you have a medical condition, it's really important to, have an understanding and a relationship with your health or medical team. I'm just going to use diabetes as an example. I'm not picking on anyone, just really common. So it's not that we're going to say, what's your name? Hilda. I'm not going to say, well, Hilda, you can't get a license in California because you have diabetes. It's not the diabetes. It's the symptoms that Hilda may experience from having diabetes. Hypoglycemic episodes, low blood sugar. Hyperglycemic episodes, high blood sugar. Just not taking her medication. Not checking her levels at all, right? Those are what we're concerned with. People can drive with diabetes. People can drive with Parkinson's. People can drive with MS. Different conditions, heart failure or congestive heart failure, excuse me. Those things you can drive with as long as it's controlled. We're not just saying, oh, you have a condition. Nope, you're out. You can't drive. That's not what we're saying. But we will need to have medical information because we're not doctors. We need to have medical substantiation from your healthcare provider regarding your diabetes or your heart condition or your seizure condition. We need to have that information. Okay, signed from your doctor. We have what's called the driver safety branch of the DMV. That branch is tasked with monitoring safety of people that may have physical or mental conditions. Okay, so it's my responsibility if I'm taking over-the-counter medication, holistic medication, or prescription medication. How does that make me feel? Do I experience negative side effects? That's for me to know and determine before I get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, right? So it's not okay to just say, I'm going to take these 7 new pills and I'm going to go to the grocery store. This is what I see happens to this group. You're not usually the group driving under the influence of alcohol. When I say DUI, what do you think about? Alcohol, right? But DUI is not just alcohol. It's prescription medication as well as illegal drugs. Prescription medication can still have you have those side effects of being loopy, maybe fainting, disoriented, things that are not good for operating a motor vehicle, right? So it's our responsibility before we get behind the wheel of a vehicle, regardless of what we're taking. How do I feel? Do I have any adverse side effects? It doesn't mean you can't drive ever. It just may not be a good day to drive or a good time. I don't suggest going to the doctor, getting all new medications and then taking them and then driving home or going to the market. See how they make you feel. That's anybody at any age, right? That can be anyone that can have a side effect from medication. So it's not just senior, it's anyone. Questions on that? If you get anything from the driver safety branch regarding your driving, whether it's medical or skill, it is time sensitive. We need to have something back. So what happens if we get something from your doctors who are mandated reporters? So don't blame them. They have to report. It's not just age, it's anyone. All people of all ages have to come before the driver safety branch if they have medical issues. It's not just age related, okay? But if they do report, we will reach out to you by mail and say, hey, we found out, Ms. Hilda, that you have diabetes. We have attached this form that needs to be completed by your doctor. And by the way, if it's not turned in by June 15th, your license will be suspended June 16th. So we give you about 2.5 weeks or so to get that form mailed back into us. We're not trying to threaten you or scare you, but let's just say that we have reports of someone having a medical condition, right? It gets to us. And then we send something out and the person's like, I'm not going to turn this in and there's no due date. How do we monitor that? Now we're aware that this person has a condition that may affect driving. We don't know if it's controlled or not, but we're going to just let them drive until they feel like turning it in. We can't do that. Now we're tasked and we're responsible for getting that document in timely. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's why they're time sensitive documents. Doctors are usually very familiar with our documents. They fill them out, they sign them, you turn them in. We're going to review it. If there's nothing to see here, you're going to get what they call a no action letter. If there is something, we will call you and have a phone conversation. We'll schedule you for an appointment to ask more questions. And it's nothing scary. It's just that, your doctor filled this paper out. It says you have this diagnosis. Did he discuss that with you? How do you feel about driving? How often are you driving? Where do you go? A lot of times people say, yeah, I have this condition. I've already kind of curtailed my driving. I'm not driving, all the time, just a couple days a week. I'm in my local neighborhood. Okay, do you take your medication before driving? Do you check your blood sugar before you're driving? Those types of questions. And it's going to be on the medical, which you've probably already seen or aware of because it's your condition, right? So that's what the driver's safety reexamination and hearing process is about. Reexamination, we're investigating. We have not suspended the license. A hearing, we have suspended the license. We have evidence that the license is suspended because of traffic safety reasons. But you can request a hearing to bring us new evidence. Maybe your condition is now controlled and you're going to bring a new medical showing that. And then we'll test, we'll talk to you and give you any test if it's warranted. No, it could be sent in if it was not an incident. The doctor may just say, you know what, I'm going to report Teresa because her diabetes levels are going up and she has a license and we need to be safe. So it doesn't have to be an incident related to driving. The doctors are mandated reporters. They're mandated. Yes, they send it directly to driver safety. Family members. The doctors will fill out, it's usually called a confidential morbidity report. They will fill those out. CRs. Family members have a way of reporting. We don't take anonymous. Okay, we don't take documents where it's going to report Miss Hilda and I'm not going to put my information. If I'm going to report Miss Hilda, I have to identify myself. I have to write my name, print it, sign it, date it, and put a phone number. Because if they have questions of me, they're going to call and ask, right? And then I can check a box to remain confidential so they don't say Teresa reported you. Okay, but if it goes to court and the judge says, tell Miss Hilda who reported her, then we'll do that. But it's just not something that we're going to do within our driver safety arena. Okay? Yes.
Is there a time frame when we call in certain times and days that you can call?
The driver's safety office or just calling the DMV?
And what do you call them, 8 to 5 or any day?
Yeah, we're usually 8 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday. All of our offices open at 9. Yeah, my office, my hours vary because you see I'm here tonight, so I don't have usually always an 8 to 5 job. So I'm in and out. But if you call me, I will call you back. Hopefully, someone can vouch for me here. I do return phone calls. Okay. Anything else regarding the health? We're okay with that. Let's talk about disabled persons placards. Placards are important to have. If you have one, that's not an issue. That's another thing we give away free. So you cannot buy your placard at the local Costco parking lot. If someone's trying to get rid of a placard there, it is not legal. Don't buy it. We give them to you for free. If your doctor fills out the form for a placard and says you meet the criteria for having a placard. DMV, we're not doctors. We don't determine that. So there's a disabled persons placard application that your doctor fills out. If your doctor says this person meets the criteria for a permanent placard, we issue it. We don't question that. We're not doctors. If they say you don't meet the criteria for a placard, it's not us, it's the doctor. And then we'll send you a letter or we'll tell you that, you don't meet the criteria based on the doctor's application. Once we issue a placard, it is issued to one individual. So if I get a placard, it is not for my spouse, my children, or my caretaker. It is for me. And whenever that placard is being used, I don't have to have a car to have a placard, right? It can go in any vehicle. That's how it's made. But I need to be present. So for example, Hilda's going to drive me to the market. I'm not having a good day. My back's out, whatever it is. She's like, Teresa, you're not doing good. I'm going to drop you off at the door. And then I'm going to go park. Oh, thanks, Hilda. I'm going to jump out and go into the market. She's going to go park in a blue spot, handicap spot. And she's going to put up my placard. Is that legal or illegal? That's illegal because the placard is for me. She doesn't have one. So if law enforcement or parking enforcement approaches her and say, hey, ma'am, you just parked here and they have every right. Let me see your placard and your information. Oh, this is my friend's placard. More than likely, they're going to take the placard, give her a ticket, maybe $500 or so. And then I don't have a placard. So whenever your placard is being used in any vehicle, you need to be present. It is not okay to get dropped off and then they go park at a handicap spot if you're not in the vehicle. Now, if Miss Hilda takes me to the market and we pull into the parking spot designated for handicap together and she puts up my placard, we're fine. I'm the vehicle. Okay? Very important. Tickets are expensive. There's also a section, handicap parking where there's a blue line and they call them cross hatches. They're lines. It's not a parking spot. Okay, and that is over $1,000 ticket. I get calls on that quite a bit. I park there. Why? It's not a parking spot. It's just, that is for people that maybe have adaptive assistive equipment, walkers, wheelchairs, scooters. You know, they need that extra room. That's what that's designed for. But it is not for you to park in. That's probably, like I said, it's over $1,000 ticket. I'll give you a quick story of someone I know. I won't call any names, right? So this gentleman I know, he drives a truck. And so we park and I'm like, oh, you're not parked straight. Oh, you work for DMV, you don't have to park straight. I'm like, you should park straight in the lines. You know, that's rude. You need to park straight. Oh, just get out, we're good. I'm like, okay. So I get a call one day from this person. And he says, I got a ticket. I'm like, okay, what'd you get a ticket for? Handicap. I said, why would you park in a handicap spot? That's an expensive ticket. You don't have a placard. He goes, no, I wasn't in the handicap spot. I said, well, how'd you get a handicap ticket? Well, he parked the truck and the truck wasn't straight and the tire was on the blue line next to him. How much was the ticket? $500. I just said goodbye. That's not coming out of the joint account. I can't help you with that. $500 for not parking straight because that tire was on that blue line, violating the space of that parking spot. $500. He wasn't in the spot. I want to make sure I'm clear. He was next to the spot on the blue line. I don't know why they don't think we're always right. I told him you need to park straight. He parks pretty straight now. Right. Because he was probably thinking maybe she'll let me take this out of the joint account. No, I can do a lot of shopping with $500. So it's really important because it gets expensive. So I want to make sure that you guys are lifted of that and know what to do. And your placard does come with an identification card. It kind of looks like a registration card, but it has your name, your placard number, so it identifies you as the placard owner. Okay, that should go with you wherever you go. A lot of people throw it away. They think it's a receipt. But that is something that if parking enforcement or law enforcement comes up to you when you're in a spot, you have to show that. It proves that you're the owner of the placard. If you've thrown it away or you don't have it, if you're a member of AAA, you can get a copy of it. It's free. Or you can go to the DMV office. It's free. Okay? Any questions on placards? Any other questions or comments? We're good? AARP does give a course for seniors 55 and older. It goes over this entire book. It is for members and non-members of AARP. It's a good course. If you want to take that and kind of align it around the time that you have to renew your license, it can be helpful. Okay? Yes. That's up to the judge. I can't say they will or won't. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just charge you administrative fee, $15 or $20, I think, just for wasting their time, so to speak. But I can't tell you for sure that they always won't. But it does happen that way sometimes, yes.
One more question?
We're good? Did I miss anybody? I hope this was helpful. If you have more personal questions, you can always call me. My number's on page 91. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I needed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. So Joy has a question for me. Yes, you do, Teresa. I wish everybody at DMV was like you, Teresa. So anyhow, that's our program for tonight. Thank you very much, Sean, Joe, and Ron back there for all the technical stuff and that you can hear me. So have a good evening, and Teresa, have a safe drive home. Good night.